What's going on, team? Proof here. I want to recruit report for Premium Collection 2020. If you're new here, recruit reports are me looking at individual cards and seeing how they fit in the context of Spike Brothers. And the cards I have for you today is Rain Elemental ZAZAN and Tempest, two of the cards from the set that support a vanilla engine, and they've been really popular. They've been causing a whole lot of stirring in the Vanguard community, and I do think they have ways to be used and utilized in Spike Brothers to be able to function. So I'm kind of just gonna talk about the cards and then talk about where I see they can fit in the context of spikes and kind of get my overall thoughts and opinions about them. So ZAZAN says, when placed on Vanguard or Rearguard, Soul Blast 1, call up to 2 cards that don't have continuous act or auto from your hand to Rearguard. If you call 2 cards, turn 1 Storm Element Cyclone face up from your G zone and then draw 2 cards. And TEMPEST is an order card, and it says cost Counterblast 1 and turn a card from your G zone face up. Look at 7 cards from the top of your deck. Reveal up to 2 units without act, continuous, or auto abilities from among them. Put them into your hand and shuffle your deck. So I'm gonna talk about ZAZAN first. If you guys saw my 2 videos about ZAZAN, you see that you have a decent chance of being able to get ZAZAN to work on turn 1, which is very incredible because not only because the biggest caveat to that, or the biggest facilitator of that, is that it's free in terms of cost. So all you need to do is be able to Soul Blast, which you can do by playing the V starter in Mecha Trainer. So he sits there, you ride ZAZAN, you draw for Mecha Trainer, and then you can immediately Soul Blast it out for ZAZAN and then be able to resolve the rest of ZAZAN, which is crazy strong, and it gives you a more consistency bump to be able to get it off effectively. And why that's important is that you turn a Cyclone face up in your G zone and you can be able to use Generation Break cards with it. Unfortunately, Charge is a mechanic that is fairly awkward, and it always has been, because you have to be able to find a way to put the unit into Charge, because Charge only works if you call the card through an ability, and as opposed to being called from hand like Hollow. So there is fairly awkward, and then after that the card goes back to your deck after you attack with it or use it in battle. So there's not much use to being able to have early Generation Break in terms of being able to use Charge cards effectively, but you can use cards like Wink Killer Misery to call cards out of your deck at the exchange of putting cards from your hand into the soul. But even then, it still might be better to use cards like Ronaldo, who still function, but they give you a plus on top of that. So in terms of that side of ZAZAN, I don't think Charge is going to be the way you want to go with it, but it does activate cards that need to have more cards in your G zone to be able to get full benefit out of it. And if you're following where I'm going down here, that means Agrius is going to be incredibly strong with ZAZAN. The reason for that is because to get full Agrius going off, you need to have more than 1 card face up in your G zone. So you flip up Cyclone, and then once you go into your stride turns, you stride into Agrius, and now when you flip for Agrius, you have 2 cards face up in your G zone, which means you can start to call 4 cards with the resolution of Agrius. And since ZAZAN does need to be placed from hand to be able to use it, that means you can bind it through Agrius, call it back out, and then you should have more soul by then from riding up. You're not going to be soul blasting it out a lot. So then you can then resolve ZAZAN to be able to call out more cards from your hand to draw more cards. So, and you get an extra buff up with the Cyclone being turned face up in your G zone. So this really supports a vanilla beat strategy with Agrius, and I think that's gonna be one of the ways you can go about it. In terms of Hellheart 8, you do get an extra flip up in your G zone, which means you're automatically at Generation Break 1, which means you can immediately start using Linus to flip up copies of himself in your G zone to accelerate your Generation Break to get to Hellheart 8, which is pretty incredible in and of itself. It also means you might be able to take Seabreeze out of your stride zone, which means if the Spike Stride from Premium Collection is pretty great in and of itself, you have a nice slot to put it right in there to take the spot that Seabreeze now left void there for you. With ZAZAN accelerating your G zone count and putting face up Cyclones and Tempest by extension, it does make Violence Ace a better draw option, because you draw more cards as you have more face up cards in your G zone. So then say you first tried Violence Ace, you can reliably be able to draw 3 or more cards with it, because you have one face up from ZAZAN or more, maybe one face up from Tempest Sphere, and then you also get another one from Violence Ace's activation. So it also gives you a huge boost in that regard to be able to recoup cards, to be able to maybe give you some staying power to get to your Hellheart 8. I don't think you're gonna be, I never felt that Violence Ace was a necessary part of the Agrius deck, because in that deck you're gonna be going Agrius into Agrius most likely. Likely you're not gonna find time to go into Violence Ace, but Violence Ace does get a little bit better with face-up Cyclones, because it allows you to get buffer or stronger vanilla cards to call out through his call part of his skill. And if you have the fortunate ability to have multiple Force Circles on at the same time, you can start to roll in power to be able to beat your opponent down. In terms of those 2 decks, it has a nice little place to where it can go, and it's not really hard to utilize, because Spikes have a lot of vanillas. They have 2 10k vanillas from V era, but they also have Monty, which is a Dudley card, which means you can combine it with Jelly Beans to be able to search it out freely, and you can also be able to have it ready to use with ZAZAN on turn 1 as soon, well, assuming you call it as a rear guard as opposed to writing it as your vanguard. You can fish out Monty and then call it out with ZAZAN in subsequent turns. So ZAZAN is going to be a really incredible card to be able to function in the terms of your deck. And the reason I wanted to talk about it together with Tempest Sphere is because they kind of work together in harmony to be able to function, because Tempest Sphere helps you set up ZAZAN if you don't have the vanillas in your hand and your opponent gave you damage. In my mind, Premium, which was always more of a swing under format and hold your opponent's damage down, is going to flip and be more of an aggressive format because of what ZAZAN brings to the table, to where Tempest Sphere is going to be more likely to be usable than previously expected. So you can use Tempest Sphere to be able to get the vanillas in your hand and accelerate your G-Zone count even more, to be able to counter swing against your opponent also probably playing vanilla strategy. So you can help fill your hand up, get your counter aggression going, and be able to help level the tide if your opponent opens up with an early ZAZAN. So I think the 2 cards are going to be able to work well together in the terms of a vanilla based Spike deck. In terms of what is going to be better, in my mind, it's going to be vanilla Agrius is going to be the better route to go, because since the format is faster, it's going to be harder for you to be able to accelerate into a Hellheart 8 than it otherwise would be. So you rather try to fight low on the ground with your opponent to get your footing, and then try to finish them off with a big Agrius, because you have all these Cyclones turn face up from ZAZAN, and you can just beat them down with the multi-attack that Agrius gives you. So all in all, I'm really excited to see these cards. I'm excited to test it out in CFA once it comes out, because I haven't been really interested in playing Premium format lately, but these cards kind of revived that part in me. So I know there's a lot of controversy, so to speak, around these 2 cards, but I do want to try it out before too long and give you guys that content there. So yeah, that'll do it for this video. I think these cards are really strong. I think they're really good, and I can't wait to see what they do. So that'll do it for me, and until the next one, peace, be easy.